In America, we like to think that censorship can't be pushed on us. We assume that since we've got this First Amendment right to speak our minds, we also get to hear all sides of every issue. It would be nice if that were the case, but we forget that while you have the right to speak your mind, private businesses have the right to decline to carry any message out. You and I can stand on a rooftop and shout to the world what we believe, but that doesn't mean that anyone will hear us. And if that rooftop happens to be on someone else's property, they have the right to tell us to sit down and shut up. We sometimes forget that companies like Google and Facebook are privately owned, and able to allow or disallow whatever they want. Even though Googling has become a verb, we should remember that it's not the only kind of research we should do. It's especially important to factor in the indoctrination possibility when you're looking for search results on hot political topics like Islam. Research has shown that sites like Google are making sure that you get a cleaned-up, whitewashed version of this particular religion of peace so that you'll be more accepting and malleable to their agenda. Via US Muslim groups welcome changes to Google results. Queries about Islam and Muslims on the world's largest search engine have been updated amid public pressure to tamp down alleged disinformation from hate groups. However, activists who have worked to bring about the changes say more work remains. In the past, users on Google seeking information about the religion or its adherents would be presented prominently with what many criticized as propaganda from hate groups. Google's first page results for searches of terms such as jihad, sharia and taqiyya now return mostly reputable explanations of the Islamic concepts. Taqiyya, which describes the circumstances under which a Muslim can conceal their belief in the face of persecution, is the sole term to feature a questionable website on the first page of results. Google did not confirm to Anadolu Agency the changes but said it is constantly updating its algorithms. The search giant referred the agency to a recent blog post in which it said it was working to push back on what it called offensive or clearly misleading content. To help prevent the spread of such content for this subset of queries, we've improved our evaluation methods and made algorithmic updates to surface more authoritative content, it said. Robert Spencer expounds on Google's Sharia adherence. Via Google bows to Muslim pressure, changes search results to conceal criticism of Islam and jihad. Reputable according to whom? Questionable according to whom? Google is bowing to pressure from Muslims such as Omar Suleiman without considering whether those who are demanding that the search results be skewed in a particular direction might have an ulterior motive. Could it be that those who are pressuring Google want to conceal certain truths about Islam that they would prefer that non-Muslims not know? This is a real possibility, but of course Google executives would have to study Islam themselves in order to determine whether or not these Muslims who are pressuring them are misleading them, and that's not going to happen. Still, they could have done a bit more due diligence, and made some efforts to determine whether those being tarred as hate groups really deserved the label, whether the Southern Poverty Law Center was really a reliable and objective arbiter of which groups were and weren't hate groups, and whether the information that Google was suppressing was really inaccurate. Instead, Google seems to have swallowed uncritically everything Omar Suleiman and the others said. Suleiman, however, still isn't satisfied. One leading activist in favor of Google modifying its results told Anadolu Agency he noticed the updated search results and thanked the company for its efforts but said much still needs to be done. He claimed that Google has a responsibility to combat hate-filled Islamophobia similar to how they work to suppress extremist propaganda from groups like Daesh and Al-Qaeda. Suleiman says, "I don't think Google has a responsibility to portray Muslims positively. I think Google has a responsibility to weed out fear-mongering and hate groups, but I don't want Google to silence critique of Islam, or critique of Muslims. I'm not sure about you, but this kind of thing makes me feel a little bit manipulated. Almost like this privately owned company wants me to see the world through their rose-colored, Islam-loving glasses." I honestly couldn't tell you what possible reason a company like Google would have for wanting you to love Islam, but just like the rest of the liberals in the United States today, They seem to have a vested interest in you loving this bloodthirsty cult and making them more socially acceptable to the normal folks like you and I. The problem with you and I accepting Islam as if they're just your friendly neighborhood religion is that if they really are bloodthirsty and they get a foothold in our country, by that time it'll be too late to do anything about it. They've been training their entire lives to be killers, they have specific instructions on how to kill, and what to do with the bodies, and they have the punishments hanging over their heads if they don't. We will be way behind the curve, just because we're decent, non-murderous people, and that's not a position any of us want to be in. Share if you think the world needs to know the truth about Islam.